Good morning, welcome back to another video. So today's video I'm going to be taking a look at ozone generators. I'm going to do an unboxing video on a little unit that I've bought and explain to you what ozone does, how we use it in koi ponds, and then show you how I've installed it as well. So covers everything. So starting off really with what is ozone. So this would be something that's familiar to some of you who've kept marine fish before, or have kept corals or invertebrates within a marine system. Ozone's something that's used quite a lot in that hobby, and that's that element of fish keeping. And basically what ozone is a way of treating water, a very effective way of treating water, cleaning it out, etc. For us koi keepers, I've seen a lot floating around this year about bacteria issues. A lot of people seem to be having more issues with parasites than normal, probably in part because of the up and down weather that we've had where immune systems aren't kicking in properly. And ozone's something that I've always wanted to try, and I never actually did get as far as getting a reactor on my marine setup because they were just too expensive. So what I've found is a little unit that's produced by a company in England that I got from filtration, which I've given a go. So like I said, ozone is a way of treating water. So basically it's very simple form without getting all scientific about it. It's to do with the oxygen molecules and how they're binded. So oxygen is normally 2 atoms of oxygen. When you've got add a third atom in, you get ozone, which is O3. And basically, even in small doses, it can be quite powerful. Some claims that it can be several thousand times stronger at killing bacteria or proteins and viruses than what chlorine can. And basically it does it through oxidizing. So the third atom that joins in to form the ozone is bonded very loosely, and it's very unstable, and it looks literally to bind itself to whatever it can find. And that is the first thing that it can find. So in our cases it's going to be bacteria, it's going to be nitrite at some levels. In our ponds, whilst it can do ammonia, in our ponds it can't do it because the amount that you need to break down ammonia or oxidise with it, and that's why they don't use it in water treatment plants on large scale, because of the amount you need to produce and the cost involved in that. Parasites, small microorganisms, it can bind itself to them, kill them. So from our koi keeper point of view, it's a bit of a prevention method, similar to what the UV does. It's had the added benefit of killing some algae, which you can see at the bottom of my pond at the minute, which isn't what I really bought it for, but it's done that as well. So yeah, it's a really good idea, I think, when we're all quite willing to throw in a lot of treatments into our pond, a lot of chemicals, like carcinogenics, things that just aren't really good for our fish, chloramine T, PP, all these types of things which will damage the fish and put them through a lot of stress in the pursuit of getting rid of whatever nasties that we've got. Obviously in the small environments we keep our fish compared to nature, we have a lot higher bacteria level. Everyone has got bacteria in their pond. Bacteria grows from the dissolved organic waste that is in your water column, and that is the whole idea of why I've got the ozone unit, to try and see if this will help with some of those dissolved organics. Because if you take away the food and you kill the bacteria, obviously you're going to have a lower level generally, so any problems you do get into, they are hopefully not going to cause you too much of an issue. So I'll give you a quick look at the unit, a quick rundown of what it does, and then we'll move on to the unboxing of it. I bought the air diffuser that you can see at the bottom of the pond as well, and how I've installed it. So, and that's just for anyone who hasn't looked at one before, or has no idea literally how it goes, what it does. Hopefully it helps someone. So this is the unit, really small unit, plumbed straight into your airline. It produces 500 milligrams an hour of ozone, O3. Recommendation is that you leave it on for 2 hours for most efficient running, and you turn it off for 1 hour, so you have to run it on a plug timer. I'm not running it at that amount because I'm in quite a small pond, so I don't really need to dose that amount during the day, so I'm just putting it on ad hoc for 2 hours at a time, twice a day, and it seems to be doing more than a good enough job for me. So that is the unit, that is the what we're about to go through and unbox, and then I'll show you how we installed it as well. Okay, so let's get into it. So, boxes in front of us. So here we have the Mark II Ozone Purifier unit from Aquasure that I got directly from Filtration. Really happy with the service from the company. Yeah, good contact. I have a couple of questions with them. All dealt with very quickly, so very impressed. So we've run through what the unit does. So this unit itself was I got it on offer of £125, which when you think about koi expense, really cheap. So let's get into it. So straight into unboxing the actual unit itself. So nicely packaged, nice and safe, basic stuff, but I don't want to spend extra money on wanted packaging. So the brown bags are the fittings, the different air fittings, which is for the airline, for the inlet and outlet. Takes multiple different sizes, really handy. And then obviously the actual unit itself, which you've got the main body and then the ozone unit attached to it. You should get a bracket, so you can mount this to a wall or a shelf or something if you wish, to make it nice and easy. Instruction manual in there, and that's pretty much it for that box. Have a quick look in the accessories bag in terms of the fittings to show you what it does come with. So get it in a tricky bag. So they're the O-ring adapters, it looks like, with the union nuts and all the different size diameter pipes to fit your air pipe to. So moving on to the air diffuser box. So this is basically, for those of you who don't have a bottom drain, this is effectively the top of a bottom drain. Really nice, this one. It's made out of really soft rubber, most of it. It's got loads of soft edges on it, nothing hard, which is quite nice. Comes with the airline attached, which is slightly bigger than your standard. And I don't know if you can see, but if you look at the surface, you can see tiny little perforated holes all the way across that dome, which give you some really nice fine air bubbles. So yeah, that's the diffuser they recommend to use with the unit. Instructions in the box, how to use it, what it does. So it's got freestanding air diffuser, pop it in the bottom pond, especially for those of us who don't have bottom drains in the traditional sense, that have the spin drifters or the air covers on top. Yeah, nothing else in the box other than a bag of gravel. The gravel to weight it down, obviously to pop in the bottom bit to make sure that the diffuser sinks to the bottom. So yeah, that's it. So first thing I've done is wash off your ballast. Always wash your gravel off because it always is covered in dust from wherever it's come from. So yeah, I did that. You can see it's all wet now, but did it, got plumes of dust off it. Obviously you don't want that in your pond if you're going to go and chuck this in. The gravel is literally ballast to weigh down the diffuser. So all I'm going to do is put all of that in there. And actually I think I might go find a funnel because I don't fancy handing every piece in one or two. So I'll snap back in a minute. Alright, just finished filling it up. I used a jug in the end, didn't have a funnel, but it had a spout in the end, so I was able to scoop it up, pour it in the hole. However, it does make a mess, so probably do it outside. Now I'm going to have to clean it up or get in trouble. So one thing I'd always recommend you do with anything new you put in your pond is give it a wash first. So I'm going to give the diffuser and the airline a wash off in just some fresh water. Give it a good rinse, any manufacturing chemicals. I'm sure it's safe, but I just always like to be safe and sorry, because I don't want to lose any fish unnecessarily, especially some of me nice ones. So yeah, I'm going to give that a wash and then I'll snap into showing you how to put it together. Okay, so connecting it up. With it comes loads of different airline size adapters, which is pretty cool. Just sort of all of that. So you get 2 of each, so you can do the same on your inlet and your outlet. Now what they do is you set them, you seat them in there. They've got a little O-ring behind them that sits against it, and then you screw it down, much like any sort of compression fitting. and I've got to do the one the same. So that's the in, which I've got to put on next, and that's the out. So I'll tap that on the airline that they provided with the diffuser. That one fits that perfectly. So now I'm just going through and working out how I'm going to connect this up. Don't have an abundance of large airline at the moment, to be fair. So I'm going to use this piece, which came from the air pump, and just let it travel the short distance from the air pump to here. So looking at the size that I need, that'll be perfect. So I shall pop that in here, connect that up, and that can connect to the air pump, and then that will push the air up and through and then out into the pond. You do get a mounting bracket with it, so you can screw this into the wall or a piece of wood, shelf, etc., and then you mount the unit in there. Don't really have anywhere suitable to do that at the moment, so I'm not going to do it today. I'm just going to hopefully I'll be able to leave it sitting on the floor next to the air pump until I sort this out. So I've got a future plan to build a frame here and make this a little bit higher and more usable space and get rid of the blocks, and I can start mounting things on. But yeah, this, as I said, connecting up the inlet and the outlet, I'll do that now. I'll put it together and then I'll get back afterwards and show you where we're at. Actually, just sort of show quickly how these go in. It's quite difficult to do one hand, but I'll give it a go. So these thread in to the adapter. Screw that in. Oh, knock the pipe off. So that screws into there like that, which gives it a nice seal. Don't need to go mad on it. Sits in nicely, and then that pops in there, like so. And then you can put the collar over the top, and you clamp that into the actual unit. So you've got the versatility of using multiple different sizes of airline if you want to. So for testing purposes, I'm running this off one air pump just to work out how well it works, etc. But obviously when you set yourself up, you'll have one and you'll split off multiple lines, which I probably may do in the future, but just testing it this way for now so I don't mess around with the Nexus. Okay, so I've got it all set up. Air pump into the ozone unit, comes through the bottom, up the side, and then pushes it out. There is no water that runs through this unit. It is not like a UV. It reacts with the air, it binds itself in the air, and the oxidation happens in the water column when it comes out of the diffuser. So Eco Filtration do recommend using it with their diffuser because they specifically designed it for this purpose. As you can see, hopefully there's loads of little holes over the top of the dome. It effectively looks like the top of a bottom drain. Obviously it's not. It's got the gravel in the bottom to weight it down. Hopefully it sinks, we'll see. But yeah, this does not run in your water arm. This is one of the things that interests me about it as well, is the fact that you don't have to mess around with your plumbing. We all run an air pump for something, and I'm sure most of us have got one big enough that can run another apparatus. But that's what I'm going to test it on one, see how much it actually needs. Bearing in mind I'm only in the 3,000 litres in total, so the amount of time it's going to take me to treat the water isn't going to be that lengthy. But yeah, so that's it set up in very crude form. Air pump into the ozone, airline out of the ozone into the diffuser, which will be sitting at the bottom of the pond. So let me pop that in, sort it out a bit more, and then I'll click back and show you how it runs. Okay, so it's on, first fire up. Not sure if I'm running too much pressure off it in one hit. I'm going to go back and tighten it all up over. I'm just checking it works first. I've got a slight bit of air coming out the bottom. The top side's fine. But yeah, so we're running up and in. Diffuser is in. And all it looks like is your standard bottom drain with oxygen pouring off the top. Obviously fish in case you're getting used to it. So I'm going to run it for an hour to test it. Obviously I'm in a small space. They recommend ideal scenario or ideal running conditions is 2 hours running, 1 hour off, and you put it on a timer. You can run it up to 3 hours continuous. They say there's no need to run it longer than that because A, it replenishes the ozone unit quicker, B, because it is more efficient, you don't need to dose that high, unless obviously you're running an extremely large pond. But obviously for this testing scenario, I'm in my 3,000 litre tub, so yeah, right. I'm going to let it run for an hour, check everything's all good, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so I've had a little bit of a air escaping. I don't know whether it's because it's running off a pump on its own. It doesn't actually state in the instructions either way that I can see a recommended airflow or minimum or maximum. But I have got a small, around this union, a little bit of air coming out. Nothing drastic, but obviously it being ozone, I don't want that filling up my garage with that. So what I've done is I've taken it apart quickly, made sure the O-ring is clean and seated properly, which yes it is. And then I've also got myself some PTFE, and I've PTFE'd the bottom part. So hopefully that solves the problem. You can literally feel it getting through the thread, that's all it is. It's not like there's a gaping gap or hole, it's just forcing its way through. So I'll pop this back together and then I'll give it another go. So this is another way that I've tried. As you can hear probably if I go closer, hissing. Got a leak out of this union. Now I've tried, I thought, oh well maybe it's because I've got it on the whole pump itself too close to it. Obviously it was joined there, so I've got some bigger airline, a big airline, to reduce the pressure on it instantly. Obviously the pressure will drop off if ever it has to push. It's still doing it, so gonna have more fiddle, gonna try some other bits. I don't know whether to try and reduce the airline to the same size going in, even reduce the airline length of it going out, so there's less pressure of it to push the other side so it can escape quicker, less resistance. I'll give it a go, trial and error, but this is why I'm doing this. So I've reduced the length of tube to the diffuser. It goes up and obviously goes into the bottom. Still no change, still leaking. As you can hear. Back to the drawing board. So here we are, less than 24 hours after they said they would. I have a new body for the unit in my hand, so I'm going to swap this out now, but top custom service. Clearly acknowledged there's been a fault on it, swapped it, no hassle, no problem, sent me a prepaid label to send back the faulty one as well, so yeah, zero complaints. Obviously things do sometimes go wrong, always do. Invariably when you're dealing with companies, it's how they deal with them and put them right, and that's what's impressed me so far. So just away from the unit itself, customer service, top notch. Right, let me swap this out, check my problem sorted, and then I can move on. So this part is the UV part, so some sort of UV lamp. I'm not sure exactly how it works, can't confess to understanding technology, but this is the part that, like on UV sterilisers or UV ozones, with bulbs, you replace the bulb every 6 months to a year. This is the part in here that you replace every 6 months. It's £30 as well, so the cost is, I think, pretty reasonable in terms of longevity. So yeah, that's the bit that goes inside. The oxygen hits that, creates the extra oxygen atom binding together, which gives you your O3, which then obviously you move on through your system. There we go, all plugged in, set up, just the one airline in before. Back to the one airline out, so I haven't got multiple exhausts. Connected to the big diffuser in the pond, no leaks. Hopefully you can hear. It was this one that was leaking, so there's something faulty with this one. Probably just the way it's seated, something with the thread, don't know. But yeah, all working as it should now. So now I can get on with actually testing it. So I've got the diffuser from the company. So I'm now getting all my air through as well, so you can see there's a much better amount coming through, which is fantastic. As well, and again, I know ozone is supposed to be, you're not be able to really smell it, but you could smell it in here, you walk in here, it smells like there's been a thunderstorm, which apparently when you Google it is the smell that you get afterwards, because it's created a lot. But yeah, not leaking now, so I can get on full bore testing this. And see where we end up. So I'm going to be testing this for a little while longer. I'm pretty pleased with it so far. Water clarity is, again, wasn't what I bought it for, but you can see it taking out the stains from the dissolved organics in the water. Great shot there, perfect timing. I've had where he can be extra feeding competition between them. I've had some split fins, which I've mentioned before, and where the water was so heavy and dirty with the amount of food I was throwing in, I started to get some fin rot and tail rot, which is clearing up on its own with just salt and ozone, keeping the water clean, and obviously the salt to help support the immune system and aid the healing process. So really pleased with it in that sense. I am going to look to get a redox reading meter, so it shows me what level, basically where my water's sitting at in terms of the ozone level. So obviously you don't want to go to the point where you're making your water sterile, because nothing will grow. And just again, there seems to alleviate any fears, there seems to be some worry. So the amount of ozone we're putting in is not capable of damaging the fish. In high amounts, like everything, it can damage anything. Humans, animals, you name it. Can cause respiratory problems. However, the amount we're putting in isn't an issue. What I've noticed with this as well is, as I've said in the other clips that I'll put up, is you can smell when there's probably too much in there, because you can start to get that fresh electric thunderstorm smell coming off the top, which suggests to me it's not binding as readily as on stuff as soon as it enters the water column. So that's generally when I turn it off, and I leave it for a while. But again, on your own ponds, you'll be able to sort of see exactly where you want your system to be kicking in and when you don't. One thing I will say in a good advocate of this is my dad, who doesn't like change at all, very set in his ways. Within 2 weeks of me having this, he's been out and purchased his own one and installed one on his own pond. So it's a pretty good tick in the box. So yeah, like I say, I'm going to get a redox meter at some point so we can look at what levels are actually in there if I want to run it for longer, so you can check you're not putting too much in and making the water sterile, because you use sterile water, and this is where you get into millivolts and measurement readings, which, to be honest, is probably overcomplicating it. If you're not running it like I am on my size system all day, I really don't need to worry about that. It is not an issue at all. And again, on bigger ponds, bearing in mind that this is only chucking out 500 milligrams an hour. Even on this tub, I'm only getting 1500 milligrams. That's half a part per million during a 3-hour period. So, and the half-life of ozone is 20 minutes, so it doesn't last long at all. It's so unstable, it breaks down very, very quickly. And yeah, so literally in this pond, it's entering that water column out of the diffuser, it's binding itself to all the nasties that it finds, and then that's it, job done. The water's staying clearer longer. I have had to back off feeding, etc. lately because of the crash I had on the filter, which I'll give an update on in future. But that's a completely different issue again. That's me trying to push the system that was on a knife edge, and for the eagle-eyed of you will notice it is a bit thinner in here in terms of fish, so I have taken out some big ones to try and spread the bioload, because I really want to focus on growth. But just as a quick sneak peek, look at the size of that little achiever. He has rocketed on the Saki. I mean, he was growing well anyway, but a fish I've only had for, I think, 3 months tops. Yeah, 3 months. Where's he going? Absolutely huge, doing really well, and as is that Harawaki. So it's a good progress. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Hope you found it useful. Any questions, pop them below. Like I said, I am no expert in ozone. It's something that I've wanted to try, and so far I'm very pleased with. I'll chuck up just a comparison to the water quality before and after at the same stage of my cleaning cycle, which you can see just from a clarity point of view. Like I said, I stress I've not bought it for a clarity point of view. I've bought it to get some dissolved organics out of the water, to get rid of some bacteria, and obviously assist in any parasitical issues that you have. Because, like I said before, prevention is better than cure. So, well, I better feed these before they jump out and lynch me. So yeah, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and I will speak to you all soon. Cheers for watching.